This is my desk. This is where I do all of my work. You guys have seen me here before. You've seen it before. It's one of my happy places. It's one of the places where I chase my happiness. It's a bit of ebb and flow. It comes and goes, right? You'll never consistently have happiness, but I think living a life where you're constantly chasing it is very, very important. And I have a lot of other places where I chase that happiness. My relationship with Michelle, Nerisse. It's always funny how dogs squeak their way in, right? A lot of you might have children. You might have things in your life that you don't already realize are a part of how you chase your happiness. The issue I have with the concept of chasing happiness, with happiness as a whole, is that as a society, we very rarely put it at the forefront of our discussions for the next step in life. When I was a kid growing up, going through high school and looking to make my way to the next step, college, whatever that may have been, very few people in my life ever mentioned the idea of finding happiness. It's insane, right? Because I think happiness greatly influences everything we do. And more importantly, it influences the relationship we have with everyone around us, which in turn influences the relationship we have with everyone on this planet as a human being. It's a giant snowball effect. I don't think you need to be a scientist or a social engineer or a psychologist to realize that happiness influences other people. Typically makes them happy, you know? So if we were better at focusing on that concept of happiness along with everything else, I do feel the world would be a better place. Now that's just a really general statement to make, but that's really the concept of the discussion I want to have today. Because as a kid, outside of my parents and my grandmother, my grandmother on my mother's side, these are the people who are like most immediate in my life. No one else who was in some sort of a position to help me shape my future ever talked to me about happiness. They never did, not once. They talked to me about taking the next step and getting that 9 to 5 and making $50,000 a year at that job. Well, if you want to learn a little bit about business and work at the front desk of a hotel, hospitality, you could be making 6 figures. Let me tell you something about 6 figures. Like that was the shit that we were fed as kids, and I think that's the shit that most people were fed going throughout school, right? That concept of get this, get that, get married, have kids, pay for your own gravestone in advance because you had the money, and then die. Like, it's super depressing to think about it, but that's genuinely how we're talked to. That's the perception, the sort of preordained path that society gives us. And along that path, again, very rarely is happiness talked about. We might reference happiness when we talk about getting that 9 to 5, getting that 5-figure, 6-figure job, getting married, having kids. We might make connections to happiness for those things. But happiness is, again, never put at the forefront. We never say, hey, find a way to make yourself happy. Chase happiness. Don't worry about making 6 figures if it's going to make you unhappy. Why not make 5 figures, downsize your house, downsize the things you drive, and worry about your happiness above all else? There's obviously a bigger discussion to be had when we talk about success and all that other nonsense, but again, happiness should just be at the forefront of all of these things, and it's really not. And it pains me to see generation after generation being sort of just funneled into that structured outline for what life should be. I mean, how many of you grew up with friends, other kids around you, and just saw them sort of fall apart, in one way or another? I mean, I had so many friends I just don't talk to anymore. They went down dark paths, man. Not only did no one ever talk to them about the concept of happiness, but no one ever talked to them about anything. And they just kind of faded away. Some of them are in jail, in prison, Some of them are, who knows, possibly living on the streets. Things don't always go great for everyone. And for some people, they're just never given the tool set they need to exist in the world we live in. They're never even given that basic tool set, let alone the tool set to find happiness or find a way to chase happiness consistently. And that's always broken my heart, that there's an obsession for, wow, I'm 25 years old, I gotta get married within the next 2 years, I gotta have kids within the next 3 years. I mean, how many of you guys know people like that? People who are just purely obsessed about the concept of these things, these common things that are spoken to us from higher powers as we're young folk. But when do you ever hear them talk about their happiness? It's just such a rare thing. And like I said, I was fortunate growing up to have my parents and my grandmother who lived down the street from me. She was always there for me, constantly stressing that concept. Don't get me wrong, they talked about financial success and the importance of taking care of your money, because you need those things if you want to keep a roof over your head, right? It's a difficult part of life. There's no denying that should be a part of the discussion. But happiness should be thrown into the mix, and it just simply isn't. It just simply isn't, man. It's not there. And that's what I want for 2018. If you're one of those people, I just want you to reconsider where happiness lies in your life. However, someone else might have programmed your future for you and said, these are the things you need to do. Find a way to inject happiness right into the forefront of that path. And see how it shapes everything you do for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. It will change the way you think for the better. And again, when we look at successful, greedy, dark people making terrible decisions for other people in power, politicians, so on and so forth, do you really think any of those people are happy? I don't think so. I think they grew up in an environment that catered so much to that concept of chasing the next step in what is supposed to be your lifeline that they absolutely lost track of happiness. The only thing they're concerned with are the financial pieces of that puzzle. And that's, at the end of the day, coming full circle, kind of what we're given as kids, everybody talks about that financial portion above all else, to the point where I think some people go full dark side on it. It's a saturation in their life, and they forget entirely about the influence that they have on others around them, the way they affect other people around them, or they just don't care and they fully understand how they affect other people around them, but it doesn't matter because they're only after their own personal success. A personal success that very rarely brings them any sort of personal happiness. Sitting in their fancy mansions and their fancy houses, tearing the world down around them. One could say maybe those people are happy, but when you see them on television and you see the politicians and you see them looking like they're out of their fucking minds, I don't see happiness. I don't at all. And I think if we can put happiness back at the forefront of everything we do as humans, again, we'll see that snowball effect. You connect with another person, and happiness just spreads. It's infectious. What are some of the most popular videos on the YouTube platform, on social media? Videos that make people laugh. Videos that make people smile. Videos that make people happy. It may seem like negativity is just as powerful, and I won't doubt that it often is. But maybe if we can build a world where happiness shapes things right from the get-go, from the moment you consider your next step in life, then those things can feel less powerful. And happiness can overwhelm the negativity. Just something I've been thinking about. Probably the most hardcore ramble I have ever done in my entire life on this channel. But think about it in 2018, guys. No matter how old or how young you are, ask yourself what you were told or the situation that you might have been forced in. I know for so many people, there were no choices. My dad's generation, my parents' generations, for a lot of them, it was like we didn't have the options we have today. It's definitely a different society. It's a different world. We have more opportunities, but we're still not being given the tool set to face those opportunities, to take advantage of those opportunities. And that's really what today's discussion is a lot about. So there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for some actual video game related content. And as always, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the play thing. Remember to find your happiness and chase it. It's always going to be running away from you. Don't ever stop chasing it.